I plowed through that on the YouTube, which they broadcasted on YouTube, and boy, that was a tough one. We didn't have, well, we had Almada, but we didn't play him, and Yakimakis was not available. So remind me of the starting lineup in that one. We had Diop obviously starting in goal.
Yep, it was Diop in goal, and then the back line was let's see, it was Parata and Abram in the center back. Neither Lennon nor Gutman started, so that means that out wide it was Hernandez on the right, and it must have been Wiley at left back.
Correct.
And then the center of the park, it was Sosa, it was Fortune, who was the really young kid, and it was Sadic. Yes, it was Sadic.
It was Sadic, okay.
And then up front, it was
Miguel
Barry.
Right.
It was Araujo who started, and it was Tyler Wolf.
Tyler Wolf, that's right. Okay, because Tyler got the goal right out of the gates.
Yes, nice. That's the only good thing we can say about Atlanta United in a long time.
Yeah.
Araujo with an absolute beautiful 40-yard diagonal ball.
Right.
He was out wide right. He cut it back onto his favorite left foot. One of the things he did was he flattened out his foot. So typically when he serves a ball like that, there's a really big hook on it.
Yeah.
And he flattened out his foot. I mean, the ball never moved. We were right behind it. It was straight in a line.
Perfect.
It was 10 yards above the pitch, and it just stayed there the whole time and got there in a hurry.
Yeah. Araujo's got a great transition ball like that.
Yes. And then Wolf brought it down well. And I have to say, glory be Stephen Glass, who had his outside backs pinching in all the time. And so even though there was a 40-yard ball over the top, this right back couldn't get back out there. Wolf walked right in and scored.
Yep.
So,
but he didn't have the best first touch, but he kept his composure and he put it in the corner. So,
hey, goal's a goal.
Good to see that he's, that hopefully will build a little confidence for him if he gets more minutes.
So after we started a little bit weak, a few minutes we were on the back foot, then we scored. You figure, okay, we settle, and now it's game on. We're going to steamroll them, but not so much.
I just kind of sat there and watched angrily. So my notes on this game clearly are not going to be as good as yours. It just couldn't come together. I mean, every time you're watching it, you're like, this is a USL team that is putting it on us. So
I was going to say before the game, I said, all right, one of the reasons why I went out there is because I thought we might play some squad rotation. I was worried he was going to really massively rotate. And I was like, that would be bad because, we're not good enough to do that. But to be fair, and maybe to our detriment, he didn't rotate that much, right? So we did have a couple of young guys on the pitch, right? So obviously Wiley is really young, but Wiley is an established part of our team now. So, take it for what it will. Fortune is very young. He was on the pitch, right? But he didn't. Oh no, you know what? It wasn't Abram it wasn't Parada on the pitch to begin with. It was Noah Cobb.
Noah Cobb and
Noah
Abram.
Cobb started with Abram. So Noah Cobb was on the pitch. He was really young. So I was watching to say, I wanted to see how Fortune would do, given a chance to play. In the middle, I was really looking at Cobb again, who I thought had a really good preseason and was absolutely awful in Columbus. To be fair, he's 18 years old.
Right.
I think he might even be 17. Anyway, and I was really, really watching for Abram because we keep talking about we haven't seen him, and I wanted to know whether he can really play.
Yeah, and you weren't overly impressed from what you said.
It wasn't terrible, but I didn't see. I mean, I expected Abram in this kind of a match. A veteran, Peruvian international. He's played, I think, in Spain before. I mean, he has real pedigree. And you expect him against the USL competition to be like, bring it. Like, I'm just going to dominate you. And in fairness, he hasn't played all season, so that's tough, too, just to walk right in and be 100%. But he was, and we'll talk about it on the tactical board a little bit later, but he was backing off a little bit. He wasn't really challenging for things. And I'm like, it's a USL team. Like, go win the ball. Right. So I thought there were a couple times that I thought he kind of a little bit read the danger, but there were a few times that he didn't. So it was a little up and down. I didn't think that it was awful. I didn't think that I was expecting him to really look good against that competition. I didn't think that either.
Yeah.
It was kind of, yeah.
Okay. So go around the horn. What else did you see from players?
I mean, the other guy I was looking for, Fortune, the young kid. I mean, he was absolutely invisible.
Really?
I mean, he just got lost in the game. He did nothing. Wasn't good. I mean, I'm not criticizing Fortune, because, he again is 17 years old and, he might be really, really good in the future, but he's not ready yet. And I would have said the same thing about Noah Cobb, is that he once again looked like, okay, maybe he has some potential, but he doesn't look like he really reads the danger that well. He's got the physical attributes, right? He's strong. He's good on the ball. He's good in one-on-one. But what you're looking for in defenders, please, if you are developing defenders, if you want to bring along a guy at 17 and say, okay, maybe you can play for an MLS team, get us a guy who reads the game. And I thought early in the preseason, I saw some signs maybe he was, but I haven't seen it since.
Yeah. And our friend Miguel Berry, how was his performance up top, Dave?
Non-existent. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, he can't, if you can't show up against the USL, right, and you're just invisible, then forget it.
Because he subbed Chol on later on in the game.
He did, yeah.
And within the first, I counted it, within the first 90 seconds of him being on the field, he had a threatening chance of goal, and they mentioned his name on the broadcast.
Well, at least he runs around.
Yeah. I mean, this whole, like, I don't know, there was an interview with him and Pineda, or I think it was him, and it was him saying, the way that they've been using him in games is, not necessarily to go on and win the game, but that makes no sense. Of course, there's been many of these games where we've needed a goal. So the narrative that we got from him in an interview like 2 weeks ago was madness. I mean, it was like, you've been in many chances where we needed a goal and you should have produced something.
I'm looking for some kind of attribute, right, for him, right? So he's big and strong. So you figure, okay, maybe he can go in the box. Every time there's a cross or whatever, I hardly see him making a run in the box. He doesn't know how to finish. Like, for a guy his size, why any coach wasn't telling him his entire career, any ball in the box, you better go challenge for it. I just don't see it because he does nothing. He's not moving around. So the defenders are very, very comfortable. Like, they're not getting pulled out of position. His skills seem pretty okay. He's got good left and right foot, but he doesn't move that much. So, he hardly ever gets on the ball.
Yeah.
He can pass okay. I've seen him, behind the feet. He's got, I thought his first touch was okay, but he never makes a run in behind anybody. He never moves around. He hardly ever gets on the ball, and he can't score. So,
yeah, it's okay. Still seeing the same. All right.
Same.
Now, I mean, that's
Tyler Wolff in contrast to that.
Right.
I thought so. Tyler Wolff looked like he faded badly as the game went on because he hasn't had a lot of minutes.
Right.
Fair on him, but moving all the time.
Right.
He looked like he has a burst of speed. He looks like a guy, for example, who in the last 10 minutes of the game could really give us something. And if you're a defender, you don't want to see Tyler Wolff with 10 minutes to go because he's quick and he moves.
Is Tyler Wolff left-footed?
No, I don't think he is.
We do have another right-footed forward. I just came.
Yes, we do. We're gonna get to that.
So
like it does.
Chol and Wolff can both play on the right side.
Chol is right-footed too, and Etienne, to be fair, looks very, very two-footed.
Yeah,
he's a left-footer, but he doesn't look like. Wiley is a little bit left foot dominant, and Araujo, of course, is all left foot.
So this is your game to talk about. What do you want to lean into?
Well, so, I mean, we're going to get to the two games combined with some tactics, and I think I want to more focus on the second game, but, because we really had more of our, true full team. Although, in fairness, like, we had a pretty good team out there. I didn't think that the lineup was super, super rotated. I don't know what.
Yeah.
It was rotated. But anyway, what I will say is that the thing that really, if I were to go right to it, right? So his very first sub. So after we scored in the 3rd minute, we were just under it the whole time. In the end of the game, Mikey Dobbs, I think they had 30 shots to our 1.
Yeah, it was
and they had 10 shots on goal to our 1.
Yeah, somebody posted
and they
the
had
stats
12
at halftime.
corners to our like 1 or 2.
It was possession. Everything was.
Yeah, I mean, they dominated us.
Yeah.
So anyway, so if you're watching that, you know, you're like, okay, we got a rotated team. You're up 1-0, right? You got to figure that if I'm Pineda, I'm really worried we're going to give up the lead and lose. He didn't seem to be worried at all. So his subs were Lennon and Gutman came on first. Gutman came straight up for Wiley, and Lennon came straight up for Araujo. So Lennon actually went in as a winger, not a back. And so first of all, if we have no offense, right, and you don't have you're not going to use Almada, you know that. You don't have Papa Giorgio, right? So and you're under the gun the whole time, and you're thinking to me, I was sitting there thinking, if we're going to win this game, we're going to need another goal because eventually we're going to give up one if we keep doing this. Right. So I don't really understand bringing Wiley off. I would have get Wiley up the field, give us something.
Right.
So he brought him straight off for Gutman, and now we lose another guy who could attack. And then the same thing, he brought off Araujo. Now Araujo wasn't having a great game, but again, so now who are you left with? Right? So he eventually, after that, he brought on Barry.
Our star, Barry.
He brought off Barry, and he brought
zero
on
goals.
Joel.
When you need a goal, bring in the guy who's got 0 goals, 0 confidence, and 0 resume.
So he brought on Joel for Barry. I would have said that would have been I would have made that move at halftime because I would have been like, we need some activity up front. But the other thing, it looked to me like those were scheduled subs, that Araujo and Wiley were our starters. You know, and we know that for Nashville. And he was saying, look, you're going to play 60 minutes and that is it, right? And the goal being that, okay, 60 minutes, the game should be over. You come off, you're ready to go for Nashville. And in fairness, you could say we were up 1-0. But I'm watching that game, and I'm like, we ain't going to be up 1-0 for very long, giving up 30 shots.
Everyone was watching the game thinking that.
So if I were the coach, even if I had started out with that kind of a tactic, I would have said, sorry, I got to make an adjustment, right? I have to have somebody who can score the goal. They're going to get increasingly desperate and push someone up. Please give me a counter and finish this game off, right?
So wait. So you are expecting Pineda to make an adjustment in the middle of a game?
I would.
Oh.
So he does bring on Chol. Do you remember what minute that was in?
Well, his first subs were right around 60, and that was the 2 backs, right?
Yeah, so that was
Joel came on a few minutes later. It had to be
that's right.
65 or 70. And then he had Etienne came on for Sadich, and he dropped Wolf into midfield, which also seems weird. Like Sadich is the only proper MLS player who's still in the midfield, and he drops Wolf in there.
Yeah.
Which again seems to me like we want to get Wolf a lot of minutes in this game, which would have been pre-planned.
Yeah, but again,
you got to make an adjustment. You're watching that game. You're like, okay, yeah, we had all this plan, but we got to get through.
Right.
Yeah. And that's why I keep saying, like, Wolf is going to be misplayed and misjudged, because I know you were a little down on him. You think he's not going to make it at the MLS, I think is roughly where your opinion was on him. And I was like, I think he just needs a good stretch of being put in the right situations, and he's got the movement and the talent to score.
Yep.
So
I'm not super down on Wolf.
I'm not super
high on him either.
Not super high on him. Yeah. Like you felt very lukewarm on him at best, and I was a little more positive on what his potential is all I'm saying. And I think that cross and him finishing is an example of that. I mean, why not do more? I mean, he's got the ability to get into spaces like that. And anyway.
So he makes another sub. He brings on Parata for Cobb, pretty late. And I'm like, okay, so now he's saying, okay,
4-5.
We've got to kill off the game. But, in the entire thing, that was probably in the 80th minute with about 10 minutes to go. I'm like, I am not at all convinced that you can just, get your good players off, keep the rotation going, and win this game. One of the things I said. So this was I wrote this in the 50th minute or something like this, right? I said when they first made the subs, actually it was 60th minute, Lennon and Gutman. I said these subs seem to be for maintaining fitness rather than tactics when we really need to change something tactically. I think this is totally underestimating how bad we are playing, and it may cost us.
Yeah. I mean, we all were texting. You knew the goal was that goal.
Yeah,
was
you felt it coming.
Oh, it just was.
I don't think this was any phenomenal insight, but again, maybe for Pineda it was. Maybe he was just praying and get rid of it.
And what was his body language on the sideline?
You know what was interesting? Because we were like 5 feet behind him, right? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. He hardly said a word to the team. Hardly a word. I mean, he's got all these new guys and the things. He's not yelling at the team. There was even when we gave up the goal, right? I think I wrote it down. When we gave up the goal, I guess I didn't write it down. But anyway, when we gave up the goal, right? We're going to overtime, right? Everybody comes off, right? And the team is huddling, right? We just gave up the goal. And you would think Pineda would be lit, whatever, maybe yelling tactically or frantically, whatever. He let them huddle and he said nothing. He didn't say a word to a single player. And then as they walked back on the field, I don't know whether he was thinking about it, whatever, he realized, oh, I didn't say something. So he ran after the team. He huddled them up again for another 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Made one comment and they went back on the field.
More passion. Do you think that's?
I don't know what it was, but I'm like, the team was sitting there for 5 minutes. Some of the assistant coaches were talking to or whatever. He said nothing. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, you just gave up the tying goal to send it into overtime against a USL team. I mean, in fairness, it's in public. It's not in the locker room. But I'm like, Alex Ferguson would have been, he's red to begin with. He might have been purple.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He's heating up.
He's on fire.
Yeah, and you did text us that evening because what did you say? I can say that Pineda does not seem to be worked up about it. Diop is yelling, but Pineda.
Yeah, Diop was freaking on fire. Diop was yelling. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like,
because he's
Eros Campoyo, right? Someone's upset about it. Now you can understand why Martinez flipped the table.
Yeah,
because probably in that game, right? They played horribly. He knew it, and still Pineda wasn't making anything.
Yeah.
He's he wants passion from his team all the time, but
where is it when
you need it? I couldn't believe it.
So, Carmen, I don't know if you noticed this, but what is Pineda normally wear in the Benz? What's his?
Usually he has the Burberry rain jacket.
Yeah, a trench coat.
A trench coat.
Don't you think that would have been more appropriate for the Kennesaw game?
Yes. What did he have on? I wasn't. What did he have on?
Jeans and a shirt.
Yeah.
What is his name?
I don't think he's putting it together.
I don't understand what's going on. There's something missing because he's been wearing that consistently.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Even his dress tactics seem a little off. Coincidence? I think so.
So we give up the game tying goal late on a penalty kick. Parata sliding in when there is absolutely no reason to be sliding in.
Gigantic bonehead move.
Yeah, it was like a rush of blood to the head. If we brought on a veteran, if you're a coach and you bring on a veteran in that game to stabilize the team and say, look, you're the older statesman on this team. You've been on the team for over a year now. Calm, get it done, get it finished. And then he goes and slide tackles a guy who's not even ready to shoot. And you're like, what?
Yeah, it was just a head scratcher on TV. I was like, yep, that's a penalty. That is a penalty.
And, I think a lot of people are talking about this game and a lot of this season that so many times we've failed to kill off a game, right? And they're saying, the team lacks focus and lacks passion to kill off the game or whatever. The reason we can't kill off a game is because we can't keep the ball. We cannot keep the ball when we need it, right? In that game, you're like, if we're at Memphis, no matter how bad you played, you get to the 80th minute or whatever, and they should be just keeping the ball,
Right.
the ball, and they weren't doing it all. Like the number of times they just gave it right back was just awful.
It was a hard game to watch.
Yeah.
Anything else? We're on to Nashville, where Tennessee soccer teams continue to dominate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say the same thing about, in the Nashville game, but I wrote at the end of the day, we really don't have an attacking identity. We're just Almada and Papa Giorgio, and that's it.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So, and you can see that when they're not there. They weren't there in the Columbus game. They weren't there in this game. And when they're not there, yeah. I actually am going to argue even in the Nashville game when Almada is there and still no Papa Giorgio, and we still looked.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had possession and a little more positive in the first half in that game, but yeah, then it went flat.